Oh, there we are. Well, hello, Artie.
Hi. Hey. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. And on today's episode of Women Getting Visible,
Yes, exactly.
Here we are. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to introduce you to the amazing Artie Blanco.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Christy. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. So we are in Washington, D.C. today. I'm so excited. She has invited me into her beautiful home with her beautiful artwork, and we have just been chatting all morning, and we are so excited to talk to you and have you join us today. But tell us a little bit about your journey, because we have been chatting about her life, her journey, how she got to Washington, D.C. with her Mexican heritage, and we've been sharing about, that piece of our lineage and what it's like to be, a first and second and whatever generational
So
and
true.
implant here as well for generations.
Mhm.
So I'm so excited. So
Me too.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Sure.
amazing. Well, I'll just say this is my fourth tour. Yes, I call it my fourth tour of living in Washington, D.C.
Oh my
throughout
gosh.
my entire career. And so it's been great. I think the first time I moved here, but it was my first job for a member of Congress from Houston. And my father was so involved, and I'm going to talk about my father later, but I think that he was so involved in our community and in my school, and he became a precinct chair in Houston, Texas. So he still is involved in community efforts and holding people accountable for the community.
Yes.
And
yes.
He was like, Mija, the congressman's looking for a part-time staffer. I didn't get to go to the college I wanted to go to. He was a machinist. He didn't make a lot of money. So I thought, okay, I'll go to community college and then I'll figure out the resources later and go. And I started working for my congressman. And after a year, I was like, oh, I actually really like this. And an opportunity opened up in DC. So I was 21. I had to sell back my truck that I was so proud that I bought, a Ford Ranger, when I turned 21 by myself. It's very scary to go to those dealerships. Anyway, and it was just so amazing. I sold it back. I came here for a year, didn't have a car, but it was that experience that really got me. And so ever since then, I've been hooked for DC. I just thought I had left the final time 17 years ago, but no, I came back 2 years ago now. So fourth tour.
And I love it because it's not only DC and Texas, right, where you
Yes.
grew up,
Mm-hmm.
and you've lived around the United States.
Yes, definitely.
So let's start naming those places.
Besides DC, and of course, if you're living in DC, sometimes you'll live in Virginia. I definitely did the Virginia thing as well as DC, the city proper. I lived in Denver. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for about 4 months. I loved that. We can talk about bourbon later. And LA, Los Angeles, and Whittier. And I've been to different places for months at a time, like Pierre, South Dakota, just different communities, different cities and states. And then I ended up buying my retirement home in Las Vegas, Nevada, which, as you can see, these are my photos of parts of Las Vegas that has taken my heart. For sure. Even though I'm always a Texan, Texan will always be home, but home means Nevada now. So
Yes,
I will be back
yes.
in Las Vegas.
Well, and if you look right up here, we were just chatting about Red Rock Canyon
Mhm.
and how beautiful the canyon is. If you haven't been there, you need to go there. And when
Should.
she retires, we can go all visit.
Oh, totally. I will do tours for free. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness, there's so many places to go hiking, looking, and finding that peace, you know, especially when we're coming from all of the action that happens in DC, you know, every day, 365 for
Nonstop.
years. I mean, it's not just, you know, now, it's the past and it's the
Oh.
future of everything going on.
Yeah.
Now, here's a good question that I have for you, because I've met different people who've come to DC with their hopes and dreams of all the things that they could do and change when they get here, and then suddenly find like, oh, there's a lot of bureaucracy that
Yes.
happens. So in your experience, it seems like you've been able to find pathways to keep following your dream.
Yes.
So what has that been like? And what would you tell someone who is saying, you know what, I think I need to be in DC. I want to create change that I can bring home back to my community.
Yes. It's been amazing. I think I learned very early what, you know, we all have power, and it is about, but I didn't know that, right? When I started my career, many of us probably didn't really know the power that we could wield as leaders. But quickly within that first 6 months of my first job in the congressman's office, I realized I didn't know about any of these programs. Had no idea what a page was, or internships or fellowships. None of that. I felt I didn't have the information.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I thought, oh my gosh, there's so much that's out there that I created. I just thought, I don't want that to happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
So when I went back home, like, I ended up working for the congressman for like 4 years, over 4 years. But it was about services.
Mhm.
It is about how are we getting information to the community so that they can wield their power. And I learned that early because I didn't get to go to the college I wanted to go to. My father was a machinist. He couldn't afford it. No one told me about FAFSA. No one told, you know, I didn't know anything about taking out loans for college. So I just thought, I'll deal with it. I find out all this information about how you can actually prepare your whole 4 years in high school. And this is in the early 90s. So it was a while ago, but not that while ago. And I realized, so when I came back to Houston, I created a program. I said, you know what? I don't want this to happen. And we started going to every single high school in the district. And it literally was, here are scholarships. Here's a calendar you can follow, a timeline to prepare if college is your thing. And I just felt like that's what I was going to give back. But I thought, I took it to the congressmen and the directors, and they were like, this is a good idea. Sure. Tried it out in a couple. They were still doing it after I left the congressman's office. Someone was still going to every high school and doing sessions. And that's the legacy that we realize we can create as leaders in our community and the work that we do, and not to be afraid to just do it.
Yeah.
That's how I've led my entire career. I want to go back to Texas because I want to work a redistricting session. Who knew that we would still be dealing with it? But that's not even the point. The point is, I knew the different things that I wanted to experience in my life, and I learned it by the experience I was actually taking in. I didn't know from 10 years before. I didn't know 5 years before. Sometimes I made a decision in 2 years. I think this is what I want to do. Yeah. And it's okay to do that. We don't have to think in 5-year increments or 10-year increments. That's so much pressure. Like, I don't want that much pressure. I put enough pressure on myself.
Don't we all?
Don't we? And I mean, it's just, you know, we were just talking about, like, when we decide to fly or go on a trip, I just sometimes don't book my stuff until a week out because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. So anyhow, that's how I've kind of set out my career. I just made a decision and said, okay, some of it was the flow, which opportunities come for a reason. And I do truly believe that, you know, there is a path for all of us. And sometimes it's a path that we're going to just choose and decide. But sometimes the path is already written. We just need to follow along. So
I love that. You know, and it's interesting because I think about talking about high school and that period of life. when I was in high school, one of the things that my teacher, he was my government teacher in high school. He had actually worked and lived here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
And so he also knew who my uncle was.
Yes.
And so it was so fun to have some of those conversations. But one of the things he had us do as an assignment, all of us, we had to come up with one piece of something we wanted to change or make better in our life.
Yes.
And so everybody, that was our assignment. And then we were all going to help each other do that. So mine actually, and we're talking the early 90s, was write a letter to our congressmen or senators about recycling programs.
Yeah.
And so that was mine. So the 30 kids in my government class all wrote on behalf their own letters, and then we sent them. And I can't remember who was, in charge at that time.
Who knows?
Our teacher took care of it. And within 2 years, we had a recycling program because
that's amazing.
here we were as students
Yes.
saying, hey, this is a small thing. What can you do and how can we bring this back? And maybe, you as the senator, you as the congressman can go and tell our governor, hey, and then move that on. And, it's so commonplace now to have recycling, but at that time, it was a big thing of like, how do we make things happen?
I mean, all the plastic that was coming in.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Regular people don't think that I felt it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Who's going to hear me? Who's going to listen to me? But at the end of the day, that's what public service is. It is about serving the community, no matter what role, no matter what position. That's why I think in the public space, that's one of the things that I knew that I wanted to do. It is, how do I get more information to the community so that they can make more informed decisions of their own, based on the needs that are happening. And recycling was big back then. All the plastic was piling up. I remember being a kid and was like, no, I want a glass bottle so I could take it back, get my 5 cents, and get another soda. Yes. I don't know.
Yes, and there's still some places that you can go and get that 5 or 10 cents. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. And it's so interesting because going from, a town, like I have and like you have, and then going into federal.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big leap because a lot of times, I think it can be intimidating, but even so, I think we can create those small movements in any level from our local counties, cities.
Yes.
But you are absolutely, someone who's like, you know what? You can do it on a bigger level. And that's one of the things that I love about what you've done is you have continued to stride forward for your causes and what you believe in. And I love the idea of educating people, and that's one of the reasons I'm so happy to have you here today, because I think back for myself, one of the reasons before podcasting came about, and I said, I would love to have a talk show someday. And I would love to talk to the people who are running for council, who are the people who are running for mayor, so that in our communities, as well as our bigger spaces, we can start learning who these people are and what the value systems are. Yes. What are we trying to create?
Yeah.
So I love that.
That's beautiful. That's exactly it. And I did the opposite of what some people do in their careers. I started on the federal level, but then after being, with a congressman, then working for a federal organization to do policy, I realized policy is not my thing. I actually like being on the ground with the community. And I decided, you know what, I want to go try state government. Because politics is local and all community is local. And when you're on more like a county level or city level, what you do on a daily basis has more of a direct impact than the federal, which is wild to me when some people only participate in federal elections. But it's your locals that actually dictate what are the resources being spent on your streets, at your shopping centers, in your neighborhood. I think that sometimes we forget about that. And I also blame a lot of our elected officials that don't go and want to hear from their community. And I saw that as a way where, a lot of people talk about people have been in DC too long. It's true. We have to get back to our communities and our roots and remind ourselves why we wanted to participate in the first thing. Once you get the first policy pieces that you wanted to accomplish that was personal to you, how are you going to know what the community needs unless you're actually in the community? And that's why, you know, after the federal stuff, I took a break and then I went back to basics, and I was all in the Latino community in Las Vegas. And it was about knowing what the struggles were, what it really meant to be in a recession, and families moving in together. And we talk about community. You know, right now, we've lost the sense of community in a lot of spaces. And I think there's a hunger out there. I'm sure you all are probably feeling it, that there's a hunger for more connection and community. Some folks are still hesitant and resistant, and I get that. It's fear, and we just kind of make sure that we're being welcoming of whoever it is that is in your community, because that's the whole point. If we are not taking care, we're not our brother's keepers, our sister keepers, or thy neighbors. What is the point of we're not here to be alone. We're here to be and live in community. And I think it's time that we get back to that.
Wow. And this is so appropriate, because whenever you might be watching this, tomorrow is actually Thanksgiving. So whenever you have the opportunity to think about that, what does that Thanksgiving mean to you? And a lot of people, it is that community. And I've got goosebumps just talking about it, because, wow, I mean, you and I, coming from a place where, I mean, and I'm going to say it, some people will go, oh, I don't get it, but I'm going to say it, is people will immediately look at me and go, oh, white. But I wasn't raised white. I was raised brown.
Yeah.
You know, with my Filipino heritage. Yes, the Vidovich, that's Croatian. And I love that last name because, you know, it's very unique.
Yes, it is. It's a great last name.
So you will remember it if it's at the V's, those V's.
That's right.
But that is completely what this country was founded on, the idea of creating community and embracing our differences.
Yes.
And so, you know, being thankful for those people around us, or my goodness, we wouldn't have Thanksgiving in the way that we have it today if we weren't embracing each other's cultures.
Totally true. Totally true. And it's changed. I mean, we look at what was the framework and the purpose of that by the leaders of that time. And everyone has made mistakes. If we're talking about it, I just want to talk about it, because one of my experiences in my career that I feel so blessed about was being able to build a relationship with community leaders in Pierre, South Dakota, outside of Pierre at Crow Creek, Lower Brule, native reservations. And it was very personal. It felt like this is just like my community, except worse. And not worse, just more devastating. And how we forget about the first people that were here. And that there is a lot about the land, right? The land. But that's why the division that is out there, that's what kills me the most. We all know that this land belonged to others that were here before. But at the same time, at that time, during the first time, they still tried to negotiate, come together. And we just got to get back to that. And I'm not saying it like I don't say it every day, but we just need to acknowledge it and be like, okay, we can do better. I personally can do better, because that's all we can control is what I personally can do. What my family, inner family, maybe not your extended family, but I'm just being honest. I have them too, but that's okay, because we're still connected in a way that we can hope for a future, and just to acknowledge it. But that was the goal, was to create a different community. Yes.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, you know, a lot of terrible things happened after that time. And a lot of terrible things are still happening today, which are so heartbreaking that any of that is happening today. And I, you know, again, that's another episode that we can go
that's
into.
A total other episode. Hardships, government failures. It exists. We all make mistakes. But to see the Native communities continue to thrive has actually been a positive. Not all, but many, many, many. And they are continuing to still struggle to thrive, just like any community, actually.
Yeah.
Just like any community.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so fascinating, the opportunities, like you said, it's like we can start making those changes little by little, and it comes from all of us. And why things like this, these conversations are so important, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
You start to realize there's other people out there.
Yeah.
There are people who are advocating for you that you don't even know. So, someone out there. And so when you start to take those steps forward and say, you know what? Wow, if she did it, I can do it too.
Yes. Yeah. That's totally true. We all have that power, no matter where you're at, whether you're in a big city. I one of the places I forgot to name was San Angelo, Texas. I lived in San Angelo, Texas for about 6 months, and that's West Texas, if you've never heard of it. It was really interesting. It was the first time being in a real rural community, and also to see they have also the same hardships as we do in the cities, in the big cities, because there are always communities that are on the fringe that don't have as access to programs. So it really is everywhere. We have more in common than we have differences.
Yes.
And I think that's the key thing that we always need to just focus on, and give grace to people.
Yeah.
Give grace.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that says it all right there. So in your current work, what is it that you are working with and helping people to do now?
So part of my upbringing, and I said I was going to talk about my father. So my father was born and raised in Matamoros, Mexico, right across the border. And he came to the country young and looking for work. He ended up working as a machinist at Bowen Tools. And I made a decision that I was going to live with my father because, we all knew that I need more discipline in my life. I loved my mother, but she had remarried, all the things. And I was like, I need a father figure in my life that is there constant. And so we made a decision. And within that first year, he had an accident on the job. And it was the first year we were living with him, and he put us in private school for that 1 year. But he was on his machine and it pulled his arm and he lost his right hand here. I was 13, 14 years old. My brother's 3 years younger than me. He was a single father raising us two together, single home income. And I always say this, and this is part of my story and the structure and why I'm in the labor movement is, sorry, I'm getting emotional, but, my father's union contract did not let him fail me and my brother the way that the machine failed him. And because of that union contract, not only did they have to pay for his medical services, he was able to also get a small settlement because once it pulled him in, he couldn't reach the off button. And the company had made a decision that they only need one person, and the nearest person was 30 feet away, right? So couldn't save his hand. If the off button had been hit sooner, it could have. But also in that contract, they had to retrain him and give him another job. And that's what this is why we have union contracts. It's our right to collectively bargain as workers in this country. And that is why I feel that because of his contract, I feel like I need to continue to give to the union movement. And why the union movement, the labor movement began was because workers are working in unsafe areas, types of work. You also now see more young people. States are allowing young people, 16-year-olds, 13, 14-year-olds to work overnight in a warehouse, driving forklifts. That is not safe. No. What are we teaching our future that we are just robots? So anyway, that's the history that made me do the work that I do today. So when I didn't have a labor background, other than I used to help my father with grievances. He became a union steward in his union. I used to help him with the grievances. English was not his first language, but the bilingualness of it and getting grievances together so as a steward so he can represent his coworkers for other things. And that's why I still do the union movement. And my goal as a campaigns person is not just electoral. It is also campaigns on policy. Policies that actually allow workers to have the right to collectively bargain for a contract, to have a right to bargain for better healthcare coverage from their employers, or even to have healthcare coverage from their employer-based healthcare. That's the work that I really do on a daily basis. And I've now been working in the labor movement directly since 2012. So it's been 13 years now. And I knew after 2 years, I'm like, this is home. Because that's what I want to give. My knowledge, my experience, I want to give to what really saved my father and my brother and I, because those accidents will devastate families that don't have a union contract, that don't have protections, and people to help fight for them and advocate for them with their employers and with their insurance companies he didn't have money for a lawyer, things like that we don't think about, but there are families dealing with this every day right now.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because unless you've grown up in a union family, you don't always know all the benefits that you're getting from being in a union and all the things that you're being taken care of. And I love it because, again, this is those opportunities for us to educate other people out there of what is it really like? Because if not, we're talking what life was like 100 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
And you have 12-year-olds, to your point, talking about the forklifts of 16-year-olds, but we are talking about 12-year-olds doing these jobs that should not be happening, that are awful. And just as you mentioned, the health care and what if something happens, you have a family to take care of.
Yeah.
It's really something that I would recommend anybody who's listening or watching. Take a minute and just learn a little bit about it if you don't know about it, with an open mind and understanding of our history. Because if we don't know our history, it repeats itself.
It totally repeats itself. Even when we know it sometimes.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. It's so true. So I know it's hard to think about, but you have this retirement home out in the future. So what's the next steps for you as you're building? Or are we right now at a beautiful place where we're climbing that top of the mountain looking for the view?
Well, I one of the things I know I talked about my paid job. I do volunteer work, as we all do, have our projects. I know I was telling you, like, I used to sell Peppered Chef years ago when I was in Nevada. And it was also because I just wanted to try different things. I found a different space within a political party. And I know this is not about politics. I'm not going to get into that. But I think I realized that I could be a leader of a national party, one leader person within the officer structure. And I think I want to make sure that we are not just thinking about ourselves, and it's not just about power.
Yeah.
It is about how we're wielding that to actually help the future, and actually continue to prosper. And so I do this on the side. And, I've been in the party structure for a long time. I grew up in it. My father took me to two different types of meetings, his local union meeting and his local party meeting at the county level. And so we would do that. Those are the two that, in fact, the office is still a union hall, CLC office. I go to it now. I'm like, I used to come when I was a kid to this office. But I think, for me, the future is, what else am I going to continue to do? I want to continue to advocate for more unions. I want to continue to advocate to workers that want to create a union within their workspace. How can we empower them to do that? They have their own power, but we need to educate them and inform them on how they can proceed in that effort. And I think I do want to do something with the party that I grew up with, that I remember what it was when I was younger. And we need to get back to that authentic constituent services that I feel a lot of elected officials just are not doing. And So I do see that as my continued future. Most likely would end up doing that in Nevada, where my home is right now. But that's in the future, working with and for giants like Senator Harry Reid, who everyone knows from Searchlight, Nevada, the legacy, I think, that is there. And he really, truly felt about the community growth. Everybody calls Las Vegas the ninth island for a reason. And it's so diverse, so transient, but he, as an elected official, invested in community, wanted to learn more about community. What can he do as a leader? And even changed his positions based on how the community changed, and realizing those needs. And that's what I want to continue to strive for. It is a volunteer level that I will continue to do. But I feel it's important. If we're not engaged, we can't complain about our government if we're not engaged in the process of determining our government. So
you heard that. If you're not engaged, you can't complain. It's true. What are you doing? How are you contributing? And it's that simple.
Yeah.
It's like, let's take it in another terms. If we look at the United States as a house, you can complain about how dirty it is, but if you aren't helping to clean it up,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Christina. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And it's so funny because, and then we're going to close out with this, the whole visibility. Here you are on the backside doing so many things in a less visible and helping other people be more visible. But it's a beautiful journey that you are creating. And these are the people that I love celebrating, because visibility sometimes isn't just being out there on stage, it's being part of a community. And that is one of the things I love to teach people. I'm like, you know what? That's a huge part of our visibility.
Yes, definitely.
So you're amazing.
No, thank you. Yes, I always say I'm the person in the background. I just want to get the work done and do what needs to happen and bring people together and let others be up there. Yeah. I don't need to, but let's come together.
Let's come together. I love it. Well, thank you, Artie, so much for today. She has been so amazing. And happy Thanksgiving if you're watching this before Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And if not, well, I hope you had a great one and happy holidays. We'll see you soon. This is Christina and
Artie
from Women Getting Visible.
Woo-hoo. This is my ofrenda for this year. I just haven't taken it down because I actually wasn't in town on Halloween that entire weekend. This is the Montalvo side of the family, which is my mother's side, and then this is the Blanco side, which is like my father's side. So he is one of 10. This is my abuelita here, and this was a family reunion that we wanted to start having so that we could get the family together. So far, we've lost 4 of the 10. My tia Carmela was first, and then my tio Melchor, and then my tia Alma and my tia Rosa was just last year, and that was really hard for us. It was last year. And so anyway, just different things I've collected. These are my mother's parents. So this is my grandmother, Maria Montalvo Treviño. So she is part of the family that the border crossed her. Her family did not cross the border from the valley. And then this is my grandfather from San Luis Potosí, Montalvo. And then these are my great-grandparents. I decided that my grandmother and my grandfather had this photo. So this is his parents here. And then this is my grandfather's, my dad's father, grandparents, my dad's grandparents there. And you can see a little bit of the German when it was starting to really be diluted in the family, but on the Blanco side. So so from Mexico. So that's what I put in.
Who will be up next in the Golden Chair? Join us next week. I am your host, Christina Vidovich of Women Getting Visible.
who will be